Picture this. I'm sitting in the principal's office, my dad beside me, staring at a man in a black suit and black tie. Not a teacher. Not a counselor. A member of the United States Secret Service. And he's here because of me. 3 days earlier, I was just another broke teenager who loved playing pinball and video games at our local bowling alley. Now I was facing federal charges for counterfeiting U.S. currency. But here's the crazy part. It all started with scotch tape and a piece of thread. When I was a young teen, the boys from my neighborhood and I were absolutely obsessed with the arcade games at our local bowling alley. We'd spend hours there after school, feeding quarters into pinball machines and the latest video games. There was just one problem. We were broke. Those games were eating through our allowances faster than we could earn them. A quarter here, a quarter there. It added up fast. And we were addicted. We needed to play, but we didn't have the money to support our habit. That's when we decided to do something about our little problem. Something that would land us in more trouble than we ever imagined. Our first scheme was embarrassingly simple. We actually scotch taped a piece of thread to a quarter and tried fishing it up and down the coin slot. We'd drop it in, the game would register the quarter, then we'd yank it back up and use it again. It worked, sort of. The string would break after a couple uses, or the tape would give out. We were getting some free games, but we wanted more. We needed more. That's when one of us had a brilliant idea. What if we just made our own quarters? Now, a few lessons in science class had actually stuck with us. We realized we needed something that would fool the coin mechanism into thinking our homemade quarters were real. After some research, we decided on lead. Why lead? Well, one of the guy's fathers was an avid hunter who reloaded his own shotgun shells. He had a burner set up in his garage to melt down lead for bullets. Plus, we knew from science class that lead isn't magnetic, which was important because we figured the coin mechanisms might use magnets to detect fake coins. But here's where our plan got really interesting. Where were we going to get enough lead to mass-produce quarters? That's when someone came up with the brilliant observation. Tire weights are made of lead, so we became tire weight thieves. We'd arm ourselves with screwdrivers and pliers and scour the parking lots of shopping centers like a pack of teenage pirates. We'd wander through the rows of cars, drop down out of sight between vehicles, and use our tools to pry off those little lead weights that balance the tires. We were surprisingly good at it. Within weeks, we had a solid supply chain going. Our production line was soon up and running like a real operation. We'd melt the lead in the garage, pour it into plaster molds we'd made from real quarters, let them cool, then move on to the finishing process. The finishing was crude but effective. We'd snip off the excess lead where it had been poured, file down the edges to keep them round, then use steel wool and polishing cloths to shine them up until they looked almost real. The moment of truth came when we took our first batch to the bowling alley for a trial run. I'll never forget that first test. We walked into the bowling alley, hearts pounding, and fed one of our homemade quarters into a pinball machine. The machine lit up. It was ready to be played. Success! We looked at each other with huge grins. Our harebrained scheme actually worked. We intensified production immediately. Soon we had bunches and bunches of fake quarters. We were living the dream. We could play video games anytime we wanted. Every single day after school, you'd find us at that bowling alley, happily feeding our fake quarters into every machine in the place. We felt like criminal masterminds. We thought we were unstoppable. For weeks, it was perfect. We were the kings of the arcade, always having enough money to play whatever we wanted, however long we wanted. Other kids would run out of quarters and have to go home. Not us. We were set for life. But our downfall was coming, and we never saw it coming. Here's what we never thought about. Someone might actually notice that a bunch of fake quarters were showing up in their machines. It literally never crossed our teenage minds that the bowling alley might, count their money. Or that they might notice something was off when they were sorting through the day's quarters. We just knew we were having a blast, playing game after game, living our best arcade life. One fateful day, we walked into the bowling alley like any other day. We started feeding our quarters into the machines, completely oblivious to what was about to happen.